Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the virtual statewide convening of partners for the Pathways to Career Opportunities Initiative. I'm Aaron Fickner, president of the New Jersey Council of County Colleges, and it is my honor to welcome all of you today to join with us in this really important event. I am honored to be here with our partners from NJBIA, the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. I'd like to introduce their president and CEO, Michelle Sikirka, who's been an incredible leader in New Jersey on behalf of the business community and a really important partner in the area of workforce development and education. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Aaron. Such a pleasure to be here this morning. This is going to be a fantastic program. You know, the title today says Industry and Education Converge on Workforce Innovation. I'm here to converge. We are here to converge. This has been in the making, and the timing couldn't be any better with the unprecedented hiring and retention crisis we're experiencing here in New Jersey, as well as, frankly, you know, across the country, but particularly here in New Jersey, where our sights and our focus are always set. What a tremendous and extraordinary opportunity to bring together all the partners that you see here today. And this doesn't happen easily. I want to commend the Council of Community Colleges, and I want to thank them for their unprecedented partnership with NJBIA and all of our academic institutions, along with our members who have come to the forefront. Over the past few years, so much work has taken place behind the scenes to allow us to come together today to converge. So I'm going to leave the details to Chrissy and Aaron. I'm here this morning to just build some great hype and momentum. I know I'm excited. You should all be excited. Let's get a whoop whoop going, because New Jersey is going to lead like nobody when it comes to workforce development and innovation. Aaron, back to you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And it is so exciting to be here with people from all over the state, from the business community, from community-based organizations, from community colleges, from education, and to join Michelle with you at NJBIA and your team to really come together in a new way to make sure that we're building pathways to economic opportunity, and we're building the most skilled, productive, innovative workforce in the country to drive economic growth. I'd like to introduce Chrissy Butius, who is the Chief Government Affairs Officer at NJBIA, who's an incredible partner in this work, to say a few words of welcome and introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Michelle, for the introduction as well. I have the pleasure of working with Aaron and team on this really exciting initiative to really bring the business community to the forefront of the conversation about how do we create the workforce of not only today, but of the future. And this collaboration is unprecedented, and we are very excited about the opportunity to bring all of our stakeholders here together, from academia, the business community, our labor partners, and also our policymakers, to have this really robust discussion about how do we make sure that that workforce is skilled for all of the future needs of our employers. And when we have a strong workforce, we have a strong economy, and we're really excited about this collaboration moving forward.
Thank you, Chrissy. So on behalf of New Jersey's 18 community colleges, I'm honored to be able to say that we are committed to working with all of you to seize this moment to build expansive, equitable career pathways for more people. We cannot do this work alone, and all of your involvement is incredibly important. I'd like to start with a couple of acknowledgements, and then we're going to go to our amazing kickoff panel to really frame this work. First, I'd like to thank the legislature and Governor Murphy and his administration for their support of this initiative. We are working closely with support from the state budget and closely with the administration to make sure that all of this work is aligned with broader state policy and priorities. I want to thank and acknowledge a few of our community college leaders who are here with us today. First, Mary Zimmerman, who's chair of the New Jersey Council of County Colleges. Mary is an incredible leader, and she's chair of the Board of Governors of Union County College. So thank you, Mary, for your leadership and for being here. I'd like to acknowledge President Borden from Camden County College. We'll hear from him later. President Borden is the chair of the Community College Presidents this year. And I'd like to acknowledge President Mike McDonough of Raritan Valley Community College. President McDonough chairs our Workforce Development Consortium and has been an incredible leader in the vision that has gotten us to this day. We're going to hear today from a wide variety of industry leaders. both in a plenary session and then in industry-specific breakouts, but we need to hear from all of you as well. And so I would encourage all of you to be active in the chat, to provide your comments and thoughts and suggestions as you hear comments made by panelists, by presenters. Please be heard in the chat. Also, please feel free to post on social media using the hashtag NJPathways and let your voice be heard as well. This is the beginning of what needs to be and what will be a robust dialogue of all of us working together to make sure that we're creating the ecosystem that prepares people for the jobs of the future. So please do not be shy, put comments, thoughts in the chat, and be part of this important conversation. Unfortunately, we cannot be all together in person. We hope that that will happen someday soon, but we are hoping to use technology to help bring us together as well. So I am really excited that we are joined today by 4 really important leaders, visionary leaders, that represent the 4 key industries that really undergird this entire initiative. So the first panel is really an exploration of the changing economy and what it means for education and what we need to do to create an innovative workforce. We are joined today, like I said, by 4 really exciting leaders with very different and important perspectives. Kathy Bennett is President and CEO of the New Jersey Hospital Association. I had the honor of serving with Kathy in the cabinet when she was Secretary of Health, Commissioner of Health. And Kathy is an incredible voice for all of our healthcare system and for our hospitals in particular. We're joined also by Aaron Price, who's President and CEO of Tech United New Jersey. Tech United has been an important entity that brings together entrepreneurs and forward-thinking technology thinkers to help build a robust entrepreneurial space of technology in New Jersey. And we're happy that Aaron is with us today. We're also joined by Clint Wallace. Clint is the Senior Vice President of Human Resources North America for Sanofi. Clint has been an incredible partner with Raritan Valley Community College and a really bright and interesting thinker on what is going on in the global economy, helping to lead a very important international company with very strong New Jersey roots. And finally, we're joined by Bernie Corrigan. Bernie is President and Business Officer of IBEW Local 102 and been a really important voice in the organized labor community and a really important thinker in the changing needs in his important industry. So thank you to our 4 panelists. And I want to jump in with really the first and most foundational question for our panelists, which is, you know, as Michelle said, the pandemic really has accelerated the pace of change in the economy. And I want to just start giving each of you a chance to introduce yourselves and then to highlight a couple of significant transformations that are going on in your industry that we all should be aware of that are affecting the skills that are needed by employers in your industry. And so let me start with Kathy Bennett and then we'll go around. Kathy, welcome. Thanks for being with us. I think we need to unmute. There you are, Kathy.
There you go. I was waiting for the host to give me that access. Hey, good morning, everybody. Appreciate the introduction, and thank you so much, Aaron and Michelle, for bringing together this group and to have this conversation today. I think we all are probably feeling the same thing. At this point, like no other, we really do need to talk about workforce. And I know representing who I do, which are the healthcare continuum in New Jersey as the president and CEO of NJHA, that this has been maybe one of the seminal points for our workforce, particularly in healthcare. We're into our 2nd year of a pandemic. We've just gone through and hopefully peaked with the newest surge of COVID. We have a workforce that is weary, a workforce that is questioning, where's the commitment, from all others in maintaining health and wellness, and a workforce that every single day shows up, gives it their all with caring, compassion, and science to help heal those in New Jersey that come across their doors. And we've seen a lot of the great work that they've done. So, we've been talking a lot about what has the pandemic done? How has it changed how we're thinking about healthcare of the future? And I've got to say, whether it was the pandemic or, boomer population that's aging, or rapidly changing consumer expectations, or this shift that we've had towards something in healthcare we call value-based care, we know that we need new skills, we need new roles, and we need a new type of interaction that happens between healthcare staff and the people and communities that they serve. So new ways to work, driving innovation and experimentation, those two things, they're going to permeate both clinical and non-clinical healthcare. And the healthcare workforce of our near and far is really different from our workforce of right now. So I've got a couple of examples that I wanted to give. One is that we definitely have had a move, particularly, I think driven by this pandemic, to care outside of the office. It's driven by convenience for consumers, and it's a move towards less costly sites of service. So you've seen, just this exponential growth in telehealth, for example. And that requires an entirely new set of skills to deliver care across different settings. So healthcare providers are going to need to operate in non-traditional locations, and they're going to absolutely have to use technology to access and integrate care. Whether we're looking at, your Apple Watch, your Fitbit, whether you have your pulse ox at home, a whole host of things that you can be doing with technology, integrating back into a telehealth setting. We need to focus on how to engage patients in unique ways so that the consumer expectations that are evolving, they're met. Another thing that I'm looking at as well is we recognize, and this is something that I know Aaron and I were working on years ago and we continue to work on, how do we take a more holistic view of consumers and patients? That demands new types of roles. So care teams are going to require social workers, population health managers, nutritionists, behavioral health, things that aren't common across the healthcare landscape when we're talking about the delivery of healthcare itself. We're talking about integrating those and moving into team relationships. So further coordination, I think, is going to be really, key. And then, finally, as I start to think about this, it's also scientific advances that have been happening, whether it's in genomics or behavioral health sciences. We know that there's a lot of unknowns and that there's no workforce supply model for it as yet. But as we shift from what is a reactive to preventative interventions, or from an acute into an ambulatory care system, we know that new roles are going to evolve. We've seen the emergence of the study of epigenetics, and we know that we're going to look at epigenetic counselors, and if they're going to become mainstream. And we know that that requires another entirely different set of skills. So a lot coming down the pipe, I think a lot rapidly changing, and this happening in our near and in the non too far.
Kate, thank you very much for being here and for helping setting the stage. Obviously, your hospitals have been on the front lines during this pandemic, and thank you for your leadership. I want to go to Clint next. We've long had a history, as we know, as a research and innovation state, and the pharmaceutical and medical device industry has always been at the forefront of that. Clint, as a leader in a global company with roots in New Jersey, please introduce yourself and what do you see on the horizon of the transformations that are going on in your company that are affecting your workforce needs?
So thank you, Aaron, and good morning, everyone. I'm Clint Wallace. I'm delighted to be here, delighted to be part of the discussion this morning. For us, it's a couple of things. I think, we start off with regards to how we work has been impacted. Leveraging technology to be able to stay connected with things like Zoom and Teams has been, and where we work, right? So for us, we've embraced this hybrid concept of folks will want to work remotely and folks will want to come to the workplace as appropriate. And we think coming to the workplace should be around collaboration and innovation with colleagues. The pandemic has definitely accelerated a lot of things. If I think about our sales teams, for example, our sales teams typically would engage clinicians in person at their facility, and then literally overnight, there was no playbook about how do you engage physicians in a COVID confined environment. So we had to leverage digital to engage those clinicians. We had to kind of unleash our minds around past practices and embrace new practices, and educate and teach, because this was also new for clinicians as well. And I'm here to say that, the engagement with clinicians through digital means have been much more meaningful than how they've been in the past. And so we're now figuring out how we incorporate that going forward as we get back to some semblance of new normal. Another example is in our digital manufacturing facility in Framingham, Massachusetts, which received Facility of the Future Award in 2020 from the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineering, highlighting Sanofi as a game changer for the future. And, the facility opened in 2019, being one of its kind worldwide, to put Sanofi in the forefront of biomanufacturing, because the whole industrial process is digitized, it's paperless, and it's enabled us to be 80 times more productive than a traditional factory. It can make medicines in less time for twice the number of patients, all within a small environmental footprint. So for us, I would say in the office side and in the manufacturing side, and even for our field sales force, transformation has happened, and has happened with great results.
Thank you, Clint. Appreciate your comments and you being here with us today. I'd like to go to Bernie Corrigan. Bernie, you obviously work on the front lines of a lot of transformation in the construction and utilities energy industry. What are you seeing on the ground in terms of transformations that are affecting the workplace?
Thanks, Aaron, and good morning, everyone. Just a brief introduction first. I'm Bernie Corrigan. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the president of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in Local 102. We represent about 3,000 members and 250 of our partner businesses that have contractors licenses throughout the state of New Jersey. From our HR side, we manage over $1 billion in funds between our defined benefit, our defined contribution, and our welfare funds. But most importantly here, we invest $2.8 million a year into the training of our members to make them more agile, because construction at its core is very cyclical and can't always be a full-time job. I hate to say that, but that's the reality of the industry. My previous two colleagues spoke about how much the pandemic affected them. It did for us a little bit on the office side, but the biggest core of our industry were frontline essential workers that had to go out and had to build the job. So that part of it didn't change too much. Obviously, kind of like Clint said, the way they work was a little bit different, maybe the precautions, those sort of things, but the actual skill set didn't change too much. And then some of the other things in our industry that you might think come to the forefront, solar energy, electric cars, there's some new certificates out regarding that, the electric vehicle infrastructure training program. That's a certificate out there that licensed electricians go out to get certified to do that work. But again, those things are kind of at the core of what electricians always did. The biggest change I saw from a skill set is CAD and BIM. And even more so, not on the office side, it is now transitioned to the field, where it used to be just dedicated to the office side. More and more electricians in the field are not using blueprints anymore. They have an iPad and the prints are on that. So much so that we used to offer it as a continuing education course. I'm now talking with my committee about making that a permanent part of the apprenticeship program, that CAD and BIM and AccuBid for estimating, those sort of computer programs, basically to make our membership more agile so they can segue to different parts of the industry. So that's the biggest change I see, Aaron.
Great, thank you, Bernie. And thank you for being here. And clearly the ecosystem of how we prepare and educate workers includes high schools, community colleges, four-year colleges, labor unions, community-based organizations. So we're glad that you're a part of this effort. Finally, I'd like to turn to Aaron Price, who is with Tech United New Jersey and has been, I know, Aaron, you've been doing a lot of frontline thinking about the changing tech economy and how we build that ecosystem of entrepreneurship and job growth. What are you seeing in the economy that makes you think about changing workforce needs?
Thank you, Aaron, and everyone for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. in many ways, it's great to go last year because everyone's mentioned an element of what we believe at Tech United, which is every company is a tech company in some way, whether the company itself is a tech company or they're tech enabled. And so the way we see it is, it's how we work and then where we work. So I'll go, just to use Bernie's example, to talk about electricians in the field being tech enabled, that's how they stay relevant. And it applies to every single one of these industries. We're working with Robert Wood Johnson about how tech plays a role in delivering healthcare, as Kate brought up, and telehealth obviously is where the world is going and where we've been and where I think we're staying. So we see a few areas of change and see how technology plays a role across all industries. And on top of that, when you add the element of entrepreneurship, surveys generally show somewhere between 60 to 80% of graduates are interested in starting their own business. So they're interested in entrepreneurship in some capacity. And so when I think about a workforce development and how that plays a role in the future of the workforce, I think we need to make sure that our industries are enabling that kind of an environment to happen within their companies, whether the person starts a company on their own or that there's a culture that allows them to take risks, to start things and to fail. And I think that's a really important part of the process of training people that it's okay to take steps, to learn how to do things with technology and to make mistakes along the way. And that's okay behavior. So we tend to think about, connectivity, capital, and culture. I just talked about the culture piece. Connectivity, there's an issue outside of this conversation about the infrastructure needs of New Jersey and how we can have a significant advantage with very, very strong infrastructure, in particular 5G, if some people are paying attention to that space and what's going on there. But we think that drives not just great connectivity, but also equitable solutions so that people can build on the network. Like that's, Netflix came out of the connectivity evolution. And we think that there's quite a bit of advancement that can happen there if people understand the tools and the how they can build upon those things and how they play a role into their everyday workplace. And so, then the idea around enablement and how we work, 75% of people want to stay remote in some capacity, about 40% of people want to stay remote forever. And so again, if we think about, where is this workforce? How do we empower them? Well, we need to make sure they're comfortable on Zoom. We need to make sure that they're comfortable on mobile, that they can build on these platforms, that they will thrive in these environments if they excel with the tools. So I'm thinking about the base level tools, but as you get more and more advanced, we see every single industry being disrupted by technology. And the more we can empower, people in the workforce to take advantage of this technology, we think that there'll be, maximum chance of success in their careers, whether they start their own business or work within another entity. So I'd also point out, at least I'm paying attention to the chat. I would guess the other panelists are as well, and I very much welcome questions and comments there if anyone has any.
Great, thank you, Aaron. I think all of our panelists, all of you highlighted a number of really important themes that I think are going to be part of this discussion today and this entire initiative. So I'll turn it over to Chrissy for the next question.
Thank you, Aaron. And again, thank you everyone for joining us here today. We're going to have a more global conversation later on in the convening here today in specific industries, and NJBIA through our post-secondary task force and several of the reports that we issued really focused on the workforce needs of the future. And we heard from our employers that not only do we need those career specific skills, but we also need those essential skills like problem solving, communication, teamwork. And we don't see that changing even in this COVID environment and moving, forward as well. Can you help us set the stage today, because we have so many stakeholders on the line, including our academic partners, about what do you see as those changing needs by the employer community, including both our essential skills, but also some of the career specific skills that are needed? So why don't we start with Kathy again?
Hi there. And Chrissy, it's good to hear your voice again. And I want to thank you for your partnership as we've been tackling what have been, a series of workforce issues and supply chain issues throughout this entire pandemic. And you've been a tremendous assistance to us at the Hospital Association and for the entire continuum of care. So just wanted to acknowledge that. And I think like you're raising some of, what we're beginning to see, no matter what, collaboration, communication, teamwork, active listening, participatory listening. Those are all going to continue to be some key skills that we need. But some of the other things we're seeing as the system continues to evolve is that non-clinical positions are going to be as crucial to support and to empower patients so that they're making better decisions about their health and ultimately improving it. So, what we're seeing is that as the healthcare industry is shifting, and it's shifting from, this system that's always been about sort of sick care and into a system that's focused on prevention and wellness, that providers are taking a much more comprehensive approach to meeting patient needs. And that includes that there's now social work assistance, there's behavioral health help, there's nutritional advice. You'll see a lot of our members starting to partner in new ways with community organizations and recognize that if we're going to advance the health and wellness of all of New Jersey, that it means that we've got to partner in new ways. And so that comes back to that teamwork piece, which becomes so critical, because hospitals and others in the continuum, whether it's our rehabs or our long-term care side, we all recognize that we have a role to play, but our role could be as quarterback, it could be as a team member on a broader set of with a broader set of partners. And the reason for it is we're all driving towards the same thing: very equitable, accessible care, very equitable and accessible situations that bring people to optimal health. And that means that we've got to be thinking not just about what we do certainly every single day, the science of healthcare, using concepts of biology, epidemiology, physiology in the care of our patients. Whether or not we continue to see the different occupational therapists, for example, or physical therapists, becoming more and more integrated into what we do. We see that science is alive, it's well in our field, and that's going to continue to be critical for an underpinning in a career in healthcare. But a career in healthcare, again, it's not just about clinical, it's going to be about that non-clinical. And that's the art side of healthcare. We always say it's a science and an art. That art is, working with health coaches, dietitians, nutritionists, community health workers, doulas. I mean, some of these terms were really new to us 5 years ago, and I take a look at how they've been incorporated into a team base of care. And we now see that it's not, in a very familiar, top-down model, but it's much more, I'd say, rounding centric. And the reason for it is that we see that, as we try to take care of the whole person, that at different points, somebody's going to step forward to lead the team to address whatever the most important need at that point in time is. And underpinning all this is that growing role of data analytics, data sharing, and thinking through what are the process improvements that we need? What are the information sharing needs? What are the types of reports? I don't think anybody wants to see 1,000 more alerts kick off in healthcare, but we do want to get better about mastering the information and sharing it more holistically about individuals. And so that also means that IT and data analytics experience are going to be key as we move forward.
Thank you, Kathy. We'll turn it over to Clint.
So thank you. So for us, look, companies often focus on the hard skills, but soft skills also matter too. And in our company, as we look at how we evaluate performance, the what and the how are equal to each other. We don't care if you are able to achieve or overachieve on what you do. If you leave a weight behind you, you still will be rated poorly because both are equal. And so, look, whether you work for a not-for-profit or a for-profit business like ours, the goal is the same: delighting the customer, and soft skills often get missed as being equally important. So we're putting a big emphasis on it. Things like inclusiveness, valuing the different perspectives that you get from a team environment, both from your colleagues that are based globally or colleagues based locally, or our partners, our third-party partners that enable us every day. We want clear thinkers, people who can take the most complex things and distill them into a level in which they can communicate them clearly and effectively to others. We're critical thinkers, people who can factor in what I call first tier, second tier implications to their thinking and actions. And so to enable them to make the right decision, take the right call. We want enterprise thinkers, people that think beyond just the perimeter in which they're responsible for, but we want people that will put the interest of the broader organization above their own or just within their respective department. And certainly we want people to influence, right? We want people to influence with diplomacy and tact, not with brawn and rigor. And we need to be sure that, you know, the soft skills, the ask I have here is definitely incorporated into college curriculums. It's like a muscle that people have to exercise over and over and over in order to build strength. And when we're building pathways to careers, we can't lose the benefits of the liberal arts system. We have to develop the hearts and minds of folks. So for example, if we have a lab tech with great hard skills, but they're not working in an inclusive manner, not well-rounded, not thinking about how they will delight the customer, we don't deem that as success. So soft skills matter. And of course, you know, look, as a pharmaceutical company like Sanofi, a biopharmaceutical company like Sanofi, science-based, skills also matter too. So, you know, we have to double down on STEM, and our STEM teams are focused on making better vaccines and therapeutics that have better outcomes for patients and using better science. But progress doesn't happen without people with a variety of skills and backgrounds in different locations and in different roles. So we have to hire the best minds we can, not only for the success of the company, but the industry at large, and for the continued advancement of health and science and medicine. You know, in order to ensure we are tapping the full pipeline of talent, we need to create opportunities to expose all students to careers in science through hands-on STEM learning and mentoring.
Bernie?
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. Thanks, Chrissy. And my thanks, Chrissy, to you and Michelle and the entire team at NJBIA. You know, it's a unique partnership when people look at business and labor, but we certainly find a lot of common ground, just like this platform here. So I do appreciate it. To build on what Clint was saying a little bit, it kind of led me to the building trades, and where I feel we do lack sometimes in our apprenticeship programs on the soft skills training. Like Clint brought up how in the business community, maybe it's more professed in the college community, but a lot of times when you get to the building trades, it's something that's neglected. And when I started introducing it, and I introduced our tuition reimbursement program, there was a lot of pushback from some of our committee, our trustees, like saying, you know, we're electricians, you know, what are you doing? I'm like, well, you know, we're also guests in people's houses every day. That's what we do. We go out, we serve the business community and the customers. Our electricians need to be able to better communicate with them, to better understand their business. And I'm also okay, sometimes they'll say you're training them to leave the trade. No, I mean, you know, if they do leave the trade, great. I created a relationship, and hopefully they'll be thankful for that along the way, and it'll build my business down the road. So I think every organization should have a much stronger stand on essential skills and leadership. It should transcend every level of your organization. Right down, I'll look for mine. From the kid in the classroom should be a leader in his classroom, to the apprentice on the job should lead the apprentices, to the foreman, all the way up the ladder. And it starts with all of us at the top. You know, we have to cultivate that mindset. So I think it's critical. And my thanks to my colleagues, Clint, especially you over at Sanofi. I mean, your organization gives us a ton of work, and for all the work you do at the core of your job. But our membership appreciates the jobs you give us.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks. And Aaron?
So, you know, I want to lean on a few of these points, right? Clint talked about sort of the soft skills and the hard skills, and I keep coming back to making sure that the workforce is comfortable with the technology to excel in any of these industries. And I also would echo what Kim Case and R&D Council said in the chat, that I do believe this starts very, very, you know, early. She's talking about the K-12 programs that they offer, which are fantastic and people should check out. But we need to meet people where they are, which is really like on this device, right? Like people are communicating generally now, Slack and Teams for work, Zoom for things like this. Some of this is here to stay. We believe that this is, you know, these are transitions in the world that are permanent. And so making sure, you know, like that the electrician understands what does the metaverse mean and how might he or she work in that, you know, in that medium in the future, and embracing it. You know, to Bernie's point, like, I hope that you're training people to a point where they feel like they can advance into potentially a new career. But the point is that they feel comfortable when potentially, they're given a VR headset and told that they need to work remotely on a project that's 500 miles away, but they're the expert in the hard skills. And if they don't understand how to communicate with those devices, how to operate those devices, that the workforce will be left behind. And we see this in every single industry. On the soft skills of communication, we see a lot of people coming out of universities without great communication skills because they're used to basically text style, DM style communication. And so understanding like what's responsible digital communication that's effective, we believe needs to be taught and practiced. So, we internally use a lot of video recordings, to communicate beyond just text, but I think there are some very practical tools needed so people understand how to engage other people, or, the world is used to short form text. If you send somebody a 15-minute video, what are the chances they're going to watch it, or a long email? Like some very small but practical steps that, retaining people's attention has changed. And so to be an effective communicator, to be effective in your career, you need to communicate and, again, meet people where they are. And so we think that, the skills, those kinds of soft skills need to be deliberately taught so that people understand, like, here's how you're coming across in your Slack chat. Here's where people think you're actually being a jerk, or maybe you don't realize it, or you're completely ineffective because you're using this, terminology and people don't understand what that means. So again, on this like tech enabled piece, I mean, I'm renovating a home right now and we use all the digital tools. And then 20% of the people, who are working on the project get it, and 80% of them don't. And they're being left behind. I think that's a disservice to the workforce.
Thank you all, and thank you, Chrissy. You've raised a whole bunch of issues for us all to think about: the essential skills and liberal arts, technology, the changing occupational structure of your industries, the skill needs. Clear that this is a really vital conversation to start and to continue to have. And thank you all for helping to frame what'll come next in this entire initiative. I want to turn to solutions for a minute and get all of your perspectives on where we go from here. And I want to really focus on two themes on solutions and get your thinking. One is, I think we've prided ourselves in New Jersey on having the most productive, innovative, skilled workforce in the country. And that's really driven our economic growth historically. And so what can we do as a team of institutions and entities across New Jersey to work together in new ways to build and protect that competitive advantage? And I think closely related, I think we all recognize that we have incredibly significant equity gaps in New Jersey. And as we emerge from this pandemic, how do we work together to close those equity gaps and to make sure that all New Jerseyans have access to the education, training, and careers to help them propel the economy and get economic opportunities for them and their families? So who wants to go first? I'll just open it up and see who wants to jump in. But where do we go from here? How do we address these kind of combined issues of equity and economic competitiveness? Clint, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one because I had a little bit of passion for it, and I'll try to be as pithy as I can. Look, I think this one is simple. We have to embrace a mindset of being a coalition. And the reason why I say use the mindset of a coalition, look, I'm a retired military officer. I served 21 years in the United States Air Force. And I know in times of conflict throughout my years of service, we went after things as a coalition, as allied forces, in order to achieve an outcome. And so I think we have an opportunity between industry and government and educational institutions to act like a coalition to preserve and protect, our workforce, and preserve and protect the stance that our state has achieved in our country. We can't make venues like this be a one-off. So for me, I think we got to think through, what is our operating cadence? What is the content in which we will discuss? How will we leverage the diverse perspectives of folks from industry and government and educational institution? What is our desired outcome? And set a path forward, looking at key milestones, establishing key process inputs along the way to ensure we are achieving the mission. So I try to be pithy. Hopefully that was pithy enough and impactful enough.
Well, Clint, thank you. I like the concept of the coalition, and I think that is what we are trying to create with this initiative. And we hope that you and others will help frame how we take those steps to build that sustainable coalition. So who wants to jump in next on solutions? Aaron.
I think I would echo some of these points. For some background, I'm an entrepreneur who started a tech company that happened to be in New Jersey, not because of New Jersey, and kind of by accident ended up in this role that's very New Jersey focused. And I am not from like this old guard of, there seems to be of a lot of people who work together and have done so for what seems like, hundreds of years. And I'm not pointing any fingers here, but there are many organizations that keep doing the same old things. And what I've noticed since I've been in this seat for now about 2 years with Tech United is there seems to be a refresh here of people reaching out to organizations that maybe they didn't used to work with. And I think that's a critical step here because it's a big state. There are many organizations. And so I think the more that we can collaborate as much as possible, that can be a challenging thing to do sometimes. We all have different goals for ourselves. But the more that we can welcome in new audiences, new corporate partners, new university relationships, new folks around the table, I think that is absolutely critical because all too often I see the same old relatively small group of people getting together doing the same old sorts of things. And in fact, I think many people here are trying to change that dynamic. And so it's encouraging to hear some of these comments, but I think reaching out to groups you may not normally speak to communities you may not normally speak to and engage, I think is a critical path for how we can drive a future that's more inclusive and equitable and also empowers this workforce of the future.
There, Aaron, thanks for those points. I think that we are trying to create an inclusive structure here and welcome as many people to be part of this effort as possible. So hope all of you will continue to spread the word. And we are committed to making sure that we have more voices who may not have been at this table historically. So thank you for raising that issue.
Kate or clear, Aaron, that does seem to be the case. I don't want you to think I was pointing fingers at anyone, on this call in particular. Just culturally, I was referencing it. It does seem like this is a very welcome event, so I appreciate that. But I don't want you to misinterpret what I was saying.
No, not at all. I think we have a moment here coming out of this pandemic to work together to bring new voices to this table, to create the coalition that Clint mentioned. So we are excited to be able to be part of that effort and to help lead where we can with NJBIA and all of you. So Kate or Bernie, where do we go from here in terms of solutions? What can we do together in this moment?
So how about if I jump in, if you don't mind, right here, Bernie, and then you can finish us out. Okay, so it's interesting, and you actually asked, I think, a couple of questions within a question. So things have come up, but one of the things I think underpinning it, and in particular, is diversity. We get right. It's important in life. It's important in culture. It's incredibly important in healthcare, but in all these other industries as well. In healthcare, I like to say that diversity is so important that lives literally depend on it. Because I'm thinking of the countless individuals who enter hospitals and clinics every single day looking for help. And they, include just this melting pot of humanity. And so if you want to best communicate, understand, or treat individuals with the best care possible, it's vital that you see yourself reflected in the healthcare workforce. So, as I look at that, one of the things that's really, I think, come to terms, whether it's race, creed, gender, age, or how you're, differently abled, this change that we've had in the pandemic, where there's been, remote, for example, remote work has really enabled, those with, chronic conditions or, different types of abilities to, engage and work in ways that they never have before. I hope to see that continue. But there's this other side that, I'm looking at as well and thinking, we have to, coalesce, I think, as business and as education, but we also need to look at what are those policy options that are available to increase workforce diversity. And, I don't think that, the state or the federal government are, the architects of what has to happen. I think that the architects are the people that are, engaged in educating and hiring the folks that are educated, but there are a lot of policies and programs that, that different legislators could require, encourage, or fund that would help to increase the diversity of the healthcare workforce. So, take a look at pipeline training. What about a long-term process beginning, with early childhood and continuing with students in the K-12 system so that we're, taking them, straight on through so that they get into, when they graduate from, high school into credentialing programs, things that are stackable, things that, continue to, move in so that, maybe at some point you're getting your associate's degrees. I've looked at some really good examples of this. Cybersecurity has become such a heightened area of interest in healthcare, but in all sectors, particularly during this pandemic. And I've seen, some folks go to school and get like a 4-credit cybersecurity, certificate. And that's something that's stackable. They can move it along the pipeline and move into getting something that's, IT leadership or, something further in the security field, just as an example. The other thing that, we're seeing is that underrepresented young people, they're not prepared to enter into a health professions training. And this might have to do really with the STEM side, because they're lacking the math, the science, and the study skills because of, the challenges that they have within their own environments. This gets to the, the issues of, where you live matters. We say often that from, health comes wealth. And the reason for it is if you're living in a community that's disadvantaged to begin with, you're underserved, you're stressed, and your focus isn't necessarily on the education piece. So we also know that underrepresented students need to receive supports and probably need them in different ways. And then there are other things I think that we could look at, and that includes, what we do in terms of, providing loan repayments. How do we create right teams? And we're having that conversation today. What do we do to create teams that are, focused on all the different skills and experiences that bring about culturally competent workforces, so that we don't just have somebody that checks a box, but that their voice is open, heard, and helping to engage and change how we think about things. And that gets to maybe that entrepreneurial skill set of where, you fail fast, you fail often, but you also succeed because you take those learnings on. And that only happens where we bring in these different types of voices. So, I see this big role that's evolving. I think it's education, it's, those that employ, and then it's the, it's the legislators coming together with that type of funding to help support these types of initiatives. And truthfully, it all begins with pre-K, continues through K through 12, and then let's start building those stackable credentials. And we've seen some really good examples in the community colleges, and we've been really appreciative, I can say that, from the healthcare workforce perspective.
Thank you, Kathy, for that great perspective. Bernie.
Well, on the lighter side, we got to try to keep people in New Jersey first. All our talents leaving, but that's a whole nother panel for Michelle to set up. I do want to build on a couple of things that are brought up. Coalitions that Clint talked about. We pride ourselves on that here. A lot of people think labor, and right away they think it's a confrontational thing. In the building trades community, we depend greatly on private sector growth. We're basically a temporary employment agency. That's all our members are. If New Jersey's not successful, if the region's not successful, we're not successful. So we got to come together as a coalition there. With regards to diversity, more inclusion, I'll use the topic in the building trades. Probably the most underrepresented force in the building trades are females. And I could certainly point to the social aspect of it. Do parents really push their young daughter to go there? Guidance counselors, do they do it? But sometimes you also have to take a critical self-assessment of yourself when you look at these things and say, what can I do differently? So it's a lot about coalitions too, but sometimes I think it's a lot about us looking inward at ourselves and saying, have I taken additional steps to make improvements in that part? And I do agree with partnerships in general. Our county college system is great. Big shout out to Tony Iacono in my county up here of Morris County, does a great job. Union County I've worked with before, and even our four-year institutions. We have a partnership for a BA in construction management with Rowan University that a lot of our members have taken advantage of. And again, it's about providing different pathways, and it doesn't just have to be college. It could be stackable credentials, but we have to make better awareness, whatever path we use to get that out to our younger generation of where they can go with their career.
Aaron, as we start to close up this great panel discussion, we have an opportunity here today because we do have our education partners on, participating. Our state policymakers are on, our labor colleagues, in addition to both some of our smallest employers up to the largest corporations in the state. As I look at those who are participating, nearly 300 people right now. To our panelists, if you had to give a piece of advice, for us to move forward effectively, what would you say to our education partners, to the business community, and to our policymakers? What is that piece of advice to give? And I know, Kathy, you mentioned you started going in this direction, and certainly started asking the question I was going to try to conclude with, but would love to hear more. What's your parting thoughts on, what can we take away from this in all of our various sectors, including our trade associations who are on as well from many different industries, including construction, manufacturing, healthcare, technology. So anybody want to jump in?
I'll jump in and say, look, I think some of this has been said. We got to work together. We have to have what I call imagination breakthroughs. So reimagine things. As we journey forward, we have to align on what outcomes we expect and leverage the different perspectives, the different exposure and experience of the coalition.
Christy, I'll go next. I would say on a high level to embrace and empower the inevitable. And what I mean by that is, as one example, New Jersey receives the top 3 markets for venture capital are basically New York, Boston, and California. And then there's this very long tail of everybody else. And we'll talk about our jump from 15th place to 7th place, but the absolute dollars are very, very small going here. So just using that one example, we recently talked about dropping any capital gains taxes on startups. And so that we can incentivize investment capital from venture capitalists who are ignoring the region because we give them outsized returns. That's one of the what I think are, empowerment initiatives that we should be talking about. But how do we also, Bernie's talking about how do we actually get people to stay here? We've got to make some of these things, we've got to differentiate our point of view. So in his industry, 3D printing for buildings is very real. There's a company called Black Buffalo that is based in New Jersey that's doing phenomenal work in this space. How do we make sure that, young people understand that this is where this industry is going and that we can create a workforce that can empower them to be successful? How do we connect them with the corporate community? So there isn't like unfortunately, there's not one thing, but I think if we can create a culture where we are training people to where the ball is going, we're attracting capital in a way that's has an outsized advantage in this region, because currently we absolutely do not. And then we create a culture where failure is celebrated. I think that we're on a path to something much greater.
Chrissy, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in and give a shout out to my good friend Jill Schiff, because she's jumping on the whole women in construction thing. But in all seriousness, she's with the ACC-NJ, and she runs the Construction Industry Career Day. It's open to high schools. There's also a session that's open to the public. And the website for that is cicdnj.org, and that's in the chat if anybody wants to look for that. And don't hesitate to reach out to me or Jill with any questions regarding that.
Bernie, I'm a little disappointed. There's so many shout outs. I didn't get one yet.
All right, Aaron. We'll do lunch tomorrow, and I'll apologize then.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So I would say, I kind of agree with what everybody's saying here. And one of the things that, as we look to sort of maintain New Jersey's competitive advantage is, this piece that you keep getting around investments, whether, we invest in different ways, whether it's and it's interesting because as we look at healthcare, healthcare is not just about what we do clinically or what we do is focus on on care for the person. There's this whole other series of operations, the back, room processing of things that keeps the system moving, or what I like to say, the business side of healthcare. So, it's interesting. I think we've heard about, the need to be entrepreneurial. We've heard, we haven't maybe used that word leadership, but it takes place in so many ways. And we've got to be thinking about what are the types of mentorships that we create, and we create also in different spaces in healthcare. And, just an example, I was thinking back to when, the pandemic first began for us in New Jersey back in March and April 2020, when we hit this incredibly high peak. And at a time, this is so strange when I think about it, where there weren't really tests. When we started in March of 2020, the US hadn't even signed on to the tests the rest of the world was using. We're still creating our own. There were challenges with it, so there weren't tests. You might remember the long lines that sat there. We had sick patients coming in. There were no proven therapeutics. This is like healthcare. That's a space where you don't fail early and fail often because lives are at stake. And yet we started to push. We started to innovate. And I was thinking about some of the things that took place. So kind of want to go to the construction side for a minute, Bernie. And I thought about, what those that did in facility management, the big and crucial role they played, because we all of a sudden had 8,300 patients in beds. I hadn't seen numbers like that in New Jersey since probably the last pandemic in 1918. So they came through and they started thinking about it. And we were learning just how infectious COVID was. And so the facility management teams came together and they re-envisioned. They said, look, if we've got to maximize staff rather than and maximize our use of PPE, we've got to stop, staff walking to each and every room to check on monitors. So they came up with the idea to remove the doors from the rooms. They hung this plastic sheeting. They ran the lines for all the monitoring equipment to the hallway so that you could actually centralize your review, reducing then the staff that was required and also reducing the utilization of PPE. That's leadership, that's entrepreneurialism. That's something that can be taught. And so when we say that it can be taught and it can be mentored, it's something across all the fields, whether it is within, and I think this is really important, within the clinical space and the hard science space, or into some of the other functions that actually run the business of a hospital. And so when I look at it, I think that, as we're talking about some of these other policy things that I already jumped on, I'd also make this pitch that we've got to be thinking about how do you mentor and how do you take these case studies of, reaping ahead and actually creating that sort of change and doing so in a way that, took the lessons learned from the failures, incorporated them. That all to me is a big piece of where I think education could go. And that's also to me, one of those stackable credentials that we haven't really talked about, but is one of those skills I think can be taught too.
Great, Aaron, I'll turn it back to you, but I do want to just mention one thing quickly also. I think, Kathy, you were touching upon it, is the importance of experiential learning as we move forward as well, and ensuring that we have that connection between the employer community as well as our academic partners, and how do we get that on-the-job training moving forward.
Great, thank you, Chrissy. And I just want to, on behalf of all of us who are here today, thank our incredible panel. Thank you, Clint, Kathy, Bernie, Aaron, for being with us this morning and offering us some really important thoughts about the changing world that we live in and what we need to do to create that coalition that Clint talked about to address challenges, expand economic opportunity for everyone. We look forward to working with all of you. Thank you for your leadership, your vision, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're going to transition to the heart of the program. I think that we have a lot to think about based on those four incredible visionary thinkers. And so I'm going to first turn it to President Don Borden. President Borden is the chair of the Community College Presidents this year and an important leader in community colleges. President Borden is going to share his thoughts with us on the community college perspective on this initiative and where we go from here in this effort. So President Borden.
Okay, am I unmuted now? I'm unmuted. The host is allowing me to unmute. Okay.
Thank you for being here,
Thanks for taking that picture down. I look a little bit too cavalier there for this, the importance of this discussion. I didn't know that was going to be posted. I'll apologize ahead of time to everybody. It is certainly my honor to represent my community college colleagues here this morning in this important conversation. As Aaron said, in his introduction, we're very proud to be part of this partnership with NJBIA and get this conversation moving forward. I think as a sector, we've been partnership centered and are excited to be able to move this agenda forward and expand on that philosophy. I loved Clint's use of the word or the term coalition. I think that's so critical in terms of our future success in this regard. Collectively, we're very appreciative of the legislative and governor's support in this regard. I know our college, Camden County College, is extremely excited to play a key role in this initiative, and I'm sure just based on the energy here that is probably evident throughout the state. A number of our plenary speakers discussed the overnight changes brought on by the pandemic, terms like unprecedented, right? So it seems obvious to me that the need to work collaboratively to address these incredibly different needs, confronting our new normal, just really is a great impetus for the rest of the conversation today and to start us moving forward. I think we all recognize our interconnectedness and the importance of working together. Certainly this, again, I think fits seamlessly with the mission of community colleges: access, equity, retraining adults, to re-enter or to improve their status in the work world, the idea of stackable credentials leading to degree opportunities. I think we all need to commit to a need-driven approach, right? What are the needs? And they change on an almost any more monthly basis. And I think the more we're in communication and the more we understand what those needs are, the better we're able to be collectively to address them. And again, partnership driven to create pipelines from high schools. We've all talked about the need to include high schools in this conversation, through higher ed to the workforce. I could speak again on behalf of my 17 colleagues that we are prepared and ready to help New Jersey address workforce needs, and really look forward to expanding this conversation and working with all of you to do just that. We all know we can do better. I mean, that was very clear in everybody's conversations. We can do better. What better opportunity for us at this difficult time when we focus on so many negative things, confronting all of us on a daily basis? What a great thing to look forward to collaboratively addressing. So, Aaron, I thank you for this opportunity to speak, and certainly look forward to hopefully meeting some of you face to face at some point in time.
Thank you, President Borton. Thank you for those welcoming remarks on behalf of your community college president colleagues and behalf of the council. As you said, we have a really an important moment here, given all of the challenges, opportunities that were raised by our panelists and by Michelle's opening remarks to really work together. And we are prepared to launch this initiative today, working with all of you. So what I'd like to do now is to provide all of you with a short overview of this important initiative. Some of you may have heard this presentation before, and so I apologize to start, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page of where we go from here. After I do a short presentation, we are going to break into 4 industry-specific breakout groups to continue the conversation with some additional panel speakers, and to really dive into the changing needs of the 4 industries that we feel really undergird our state's economy. So again, this initiative is a partnership between New Jersey's community colleges and NJBIA, and we hope that it will be a broad and inclusive partnership that includes all of you here and many others working together in new ways. I think Aaron Price's point is a really important one. We have to find ways to bring new voices, new partners to the table. As President Borden said, we have prided ourselves in community colleges as being partner organizations, and we are going to redouble our effort with all of you to use this initiative to build that stronger economy and expand economic opportunity. Next slide. So again, we believe that we can only do this important work if we all work together. And so we are excited by the diversity of organizations that are represented here today: businesses, industry associations, labor unions, workforce development boards, all levels of education, community-based organization, state government partners, private career schools, four-year colleges and universities, vocational technical schools, adult literacy training providers. We all believe that we need to find a time, find a way to work together in an inclusive way. And we are committed to that as a core principle of this entire initiative. Next slide. So we heard from our panelists just how much the pandemic has transformed our economy and our state. And as we emerge, we hope, from this pandemic permanently and emerge into a new normal, a new way of living and doing business. I think we all heard from the panelists really an urgent need to make sure that we are better coordinating all of our workforce and education efforts in an ecosystem that allows us to work together, to share information, to understand the changing needs of the economy, and then to work together to respond to those needs. This initiative is really focused on building pathways. And you hear that word, we'll talk about it a lot today, and I'll talk more about what that really means. But really, it is working together to make sure that we have the stackable pathways that allow individuals to go from high school to community college to four-year colleges, to come in and out in off-ramps and on-ramps, to get an honored, to have honor for training that comes from other places, prior learning assessments. Again, it's to develop a skilled workforce that can adapt to this changing economy. And we also need to continue to remember that there are many adults in New Jersey who are going to need opportunities to come back to school or education to get new skills and careers. And while we're focusing on making sure that the next generation of workers in New Jersey, our younger New Jerseyans, have educational opportunities, we can't forget that a sizable part of our workforce now and in the future are people who are currently in the workforce. Next slide. So this initiative has two important components. The first are the statewide inclusive collaboratives focused on 4 industries. And the second part of the initiative are the establishment of centers of workforce innovation focused on 10 subsectors of the economy. I'll talk more about each of these, but the collaboratives are statewide. They're focused on getting better information on the changing needs of employers and building the ecosystem, the talent ecosystem, to allow all of us to work together in new ways. The centers of workforce innovation will be led by community colleges and other partners to create new and aligned and enhanced curriculum that will be shared across the state to make sure that we are meeting this moment, that we are continuing to evolve and to innovate to make sure that we are building those pathways for more individuals. Again, we are taking a pathways framework to this entire initiative, and a number of our speakers mentioned the concept of stackable credentials, stackability, the idea that individuals can obtain education and continue to move up the career ladder throughout their lives, that they've got on-ramps and off-ramps to further education, that there is alignment between what a student might learn in high school and what they may learn in college. There's connections between community-based organizations that are providing training that allow individuals who get training from community-based organizations or private career schools to come into college and get credit for those experiences and to continue to build education, credentials, and skills to allow them to continue to move up, to continue to move forward their career. And this concept of pathways really allows us to do a wide variety of things. On the next slide, please. So we are very interested in this initiative in building high school to post-secondary education pathways through expanded dual enrollment models with our post-secondary vocational technical partners and our comprehensive high schools. We are committed to building more transfer pathways for community college students to be able to seamlessly transfer to a 4-year college and university and get additional education. We are very interested and committed to working with community-based organizations to make sure that their training programs are connected to post-secondary education and credential pathways. Contextualize adult basic education literacy programs for those individuals who don't have a high school diploma or who lack the basic skills that are necessary to get them on a path to a credential. Contextualizing those experiences is an important part of this effort. We mentioned work-based learning. There is a great emphasis on apprenticeship programs now, and we believe that apprenticeships are an incredibly important model of work-based learning that leads to industry-valued credentials and allow for additional education and training. And so apprenticeships are an important part of the puzzle here. We believe there's a huge opportunity to leverage the state and federal financial aid programs, including the New Jersey Community College Opportunity Grant Program, to help individuals get the post-secondary education training that they need. Prior learning assessments are critically important because many adults have obtained education and training from other places, the military, from private career schools, from their work. And we are committed through this effort to find new ways of expanding prior learning assessments so that more individuals can accelerate their path to a credential or a degree. And again, it's important for all of us to think about how we work with incumbent workers, people who are currently working with employers to help them upgrade the skills of their employees. So by taking a pathway framework, all of these 8 boxes and many other aspects of the pathway system really can be prioritized and honored and advanced. So we are focusing on, as many of you know, 4 industries that we believe undergird the state's economy: health services, technology and innovation, infrastructure and energy, manufacturing, and supply chain management. Those 4 industries are the focus of our statewide inclusive collaboratives. Nested under those 4 industries are the 10 centers of workforce innovation that we are establishing: patient care, healthcare technology and administration in health services, data science, cybersecurity, programming and software development, research and development in technology and innovation, in infrastructure and energy, renewable energy, and construction, and in manufacturing and supply chain management, manufacturing, production and engineering, and supply chain logistics. So the 4 industries were selected based on an analysis of labor market data and input from many of you here today and from NJBIA and other sources. We believe that these 4 industries are really the backbone of New Jersey's economy. The industries themselves, the occupations in them, make up at least 1/3 of all actual employment in New Jersey in 2018. And these occupations are expected to grow at a faster rate than the economy as a whole. We also believe that these 4 industries provide unique opportunities for the building of stackable credentials because they offer occupational opportunities at a variety of levels. So we believe that these 4 industries are really a great target of opportunity, a backbone of our economy, and an area for really advancement and innovation. So you can see here the collaboratives. Again, the statewide inclusive groups. Each of the collaboratives will be led by an industry leadership team of 10 to 12 industry leaders who will meet quarterly to guide this entire effort. The dialogue that we began this morning, we hope will continue and accelerate as we move into this next phase and establish the industry leadership teams to meet and to guide this work. The second half of the collaboratives are the education ecosystem partners. And so we ask all of you to consider joining one or all of our collaboratives. The collaboratives will meet monthly, bringing together those ecosystem partners on a monthly basis to continue and to illuminate and to advance the dialogue that we had this morning about the changing needs of the economy and the solutions that we all can work together to achieve. So we welcome any and all partners to join the collaboratives and to be part of those monthly discussions that will start virtually, but we hope at some point will be in person. The goals of the collaboratives are really to get better information about the changing needs of the economy, and then to translate that into discussions in the building of a robust and inclusive ecosystem of partners to develop solutions. Each of the collaboratives will be developing a strategic workforce plan based on input of employers and extensive analysis of labor market data. We are proud to be partnering with the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development and their Office of Research and Information to make sure that we are using their cutting edge data to drive this work. And we're proud to be partnering with Focus New Jersey, an innovative think tank research entity connected to NJBIA that has done some incredible research on the changing needs of the economy and will continue to do this throughout this initiative. So we'll be preparing an inventory of programs and facilities. We'll be identifying labor market demand and industry valued credentials in the 4 industries. developing detailed career pathway maps, and then disseminating that information widely to make sure that not only all of us in this initiative, but job seekers and students have access to better and improved labor market information to guide their decisions about their education and training and career pathways. The Centers of Workforce Innovation are a critical source of work in this initiative. Each center will be led by 2 to 4 community college partners working with a four-year college and university partner, high school partners, and partners from private career schools, adult literacy providers, and community-based training providers. This is where the heart of the work will happen in this initiative. Each of the centers will be guided by industry action teams that will include employers, industry associations, labor unions that will be working closely with our teams to develop new, aligned, and improved existing curriculum that extends from high school to community college to four-year colleges and universities, that's inclusive of career-based organizations and private career schools. Priority is going to be given to industry valued credentials and how do we ensure that more students at all levels have the opportunity to obtain those credentials. The commitment here is to share the curriculum. Anything that is developed through the centers will be shared widely across the state with all partners. And the centers will be providing professional development for faculty and teachers to make sure that the innovations that are developed by the centers are shared widely so that we are lifting the entire education and training ecosystem through this initiative. We will be developing transfer agreements, including dual enrollment agreements between high schools and community colleges, 1+1 agreements among our community colleges, and 2+2 and 3+1 agreements with our four-year institution partners to ensure that we have those seamless pathways. We'll be piloting prior learning assessment solutions and piloting the implementation of new curriculum that will be developed. So the centers, the 10 centers will be the center of much of the innovative work that happens in this initiative. Proud to say that all 18 community colleges have agreed to provide a leadership role in at least one of the centers. So in health services, we have 5 colleges working together in patient care: Bergen Community College, Mercer County Community College, Passaic County Community College, and Rowan College, South Jersey, and Union County College. So 5 colleges in patient care. In healthcare tech and administration, Atlantic Cape Community College, Brookdale Community College, Camden County College, Essex County College, and Warren County Community College. We have 5 colleges working in each of the health services industry centers of workforce innovation because of how large this industry is and how it affects all of us in so many ways. In innovation and technology industry, in data science, proud that Brookdale Community College, Camden County College, Middlesex College, Camden County College of Morris will be working together to lead the work in data science. In cybersecurity, Ocean County College, Raritan Valley Community College, and Rowan College at Burlington County. In programming and software development, Essex County College, Middlesex College, and in research and development, Bergen Community College, Middlesex College, Ocean County College, and Warren County Community College. In the 2 other industries, I'm happy to announce today that in infrastructure and energy, in renewable energy, Atlantic Cape Community College, Bergen Community College, and Rowan College of South Jersey will be working together in renewable energy. In construction, Hudson County Community College and Rowan College of South Jersey will be working together in that industry sector. In manufacturing and supply chain management, happy to say that in manufacturing and production engineering, Camden County College, County College of Morris, Raritan Valley Community College, Sussex County Community College will be working together. And finally, in supply chain management and logistics, Hudson County Community College, Rowan College at Burlington County, Salem Community College, and Union County College will be working together. In the next few months, those colleges will be working to develop action plans and bringing in four-year college, high school, and other partners to join their work and to be really the innovation that propels this initiative forward. So excited to be able to announce those colleges that will be leading our work in the Centers of Workforce Innovation, and look forward to working with all of you to advance their important work. So finally, it's important that we define success and that we focus on what it means to be successful in this initiative. So in the collaboratives, we are committed to engaging as many education ecosystem partners as possible, to being as inclusive as possible, to bringing in new partners to work together to create that ecosystem, that place for conversation, collaboration, and new ideas to come together. Clearly, a big part of the collaboratives is getting better information to all of you on current and prospective industry trends and needs, to make sure that we are all doing a better job of aligning the education and training that we offer to the changing needs of the economy. The education and workforce plans will be an important deliverable of this effort, giving us all a blueprint of how we continue to do this work to make sure that education is connected to and aligned with industry needs statewide. And we are hoping and planning that substantial partnerships will arise through this work, and interesting partnerships and collaborations and coalitions that we could not imagine at this moment will come together, because we are bringing people together in new ways, bringing partners and encouraging conversation and collaboration. And finally, ensuring that better career information is available to job seekers and students. The Centers of Workforce Innovation, defining success. Clearly, the centers will be working to make sure that we are developing that new and enhanced curriculum aligned with the needs of the changing economy. And that will be the main deliverable, will be those curriculum models, as well as those statewide partnership models that can be adopted across the state as well, to build stronger connections between the education and training ecosystem. The professional development of statewide faculty, teachers, and staff is also a critical milestone in this effort. Again, the commitment here is to make sure that the work that is done by the centers are widely shared across the state, so that we are all benefiting from this important work. And we are expecting that we will be assessing industry valued credentials to allow for credit transitions, that will be piloting some training and education programs that are developed through the centers, and that we will be completing year-end reports that we can submit to all of you, so everyone knows clearly what has been accomplished and where we go from here. So again, we are committed to using this opportunity, to seizing this opportunity to work together in new ways, to better understand the changing needs of the economy and creating the ecosystems of partnerships. We believe, again, that if we do this work right, that we will be able to bring together a whole host of other initiatives and to help strengthen and support a lot of good work that is currently going on in a lot of different places in the education and training ecosystem. We expect that we will be able to expand dual enrollment programs that help more high school students get college credit so that they're on a path to a post-secondary degree. We expect that we will be able to use the pathways developed to help individuals with developmental disabilities get on a path to jobs and careers. We expect that we will be able to strengthen the connections between non-credit and credit programs at community colleges and four-year colleges to make sure that there are transitions, and that we're expanding the use of prior learning assessments. We expect that apprenticeships will be a major part of this initiative, and that will allow us to develop sustainable apprenticeship models that allow us to honor the value of the work and learn model aligned to the needs of employers. We're committed to building an experiential learning platform to help expand work-based learning opportunities for New Jerseyans. We're committed to building stronger partnerships between community colleges and four-year college partners, building on the solid foundation of transfer agreements that currently that exist in our state. And we are committed to building pathways for adults who need literacy assistance so they can get on a path to a post-secondary credential. So we believe that there is an incredible opportunity here to use the energy in this virtual meeting today to work together, to find new models, to build those important pathways to expand economic mobility, to address the all too persistent equity gaps in New Jersey, and that we're building that skilled workforce that propels economic growth now and into the future. So we hope that all of you will join with us and work with us in this effort. So now we're going to transition to industry-specific breakout sessions. All of you will be asked to choose one of the 4 industries that you would like to join for a discussion. We will have panel presentations and have some questions and answers, but we ask that you all choose one of the 4 industries based on your areas of interest, and look forward to an hour-long discussion and breakouts, and then we will come back to do some final wrap-up. The discussions that we will have in these breakout sessions will really be the beginning of our work to establish statewide collaboratives. The monthly meetings that we will have of the collaboratives will continue and illuminate and advance many of the ideas and points that get raised today, and look forward to continuing this conversation through this entire initiative. So please join a breakout room of your choice, and look forward to those discussions, and looking forward to being all back for some closing remarks in about an hour. All right, so welcome back. I hope everyone had as rich a discussion as we had in industry, in infrastructure and energy. I want to thank all of you for sticking with us throughout this morning, and for joining the breakouts. Thank all of our panelists for being here today. I think that all of the, just reflecting on all of the comments that were made from all the panelists, both at the plenary and the opening remarks, I think it is clear to me that the work that we are doing and advancing here today is really important. We have a moment here to seize, to create the coalition Clint talked about, to bring in new partners like Aaron talked about, to really find solutions, new ways of working together that all of our panelists mentioned. And we really are excited that all of you have agreed to join us on this journey to create more equitable opportunities for all New Jerseyans and to build that skilled workforce. I'd like to turn over to our partner, Chrissy Butis from NJBIA for some final remarks, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we're going to continue this work and how you all can get involved. So, Chrissy. Is Chrissy still with us? Okay, so it looks like we may have lost Chrissy to some other opportunity or need. So apologize for that, but
I'm here, Aaron. I'm here.
Chrissy.
Okay, the mute button. That's how they get me to stop talking, Aaron, is they put me on mute. So.
Okay, Chrissy. Well, good to see you. Thank you for coming back.
No problem. And I just want to acknowledge what a great breakout. I was in healthcare, and tremendous amount of conversation and great direction for next steps. You know, on behalf of the business community, again, we really thank everyone for their partnership in this and how we move forward. I joined BIA about 4 years ago, and one of the top things I hear from our membership is, you know, how can we make sure that our employees are skilled for not only the demands of today, but for the future. And this collaboration is key to making sure that business, academia, and our policymakers are all connected and figuring out how we make sure that takes place moving forward. We have a great state. We're a leader in many places, and we need to continue doing that. I really do encourage, especially our employers who are on the line here today, to actively participate in these pathways and the development of such moving forward, and lend your expertise to the conversation. This is what we've all been talking about, and we really have an opportunity now to get this across the finish line. So again, very thrilled about all of the collaboration that's taking place. Want to thank Aaron, Catherine, and team, obviously the legislature and the governor, for giving us this opportunity to really seize the needs of the employer community and work with our education partners and our policymakers moving forward. So again, thank you, Aaron, and looking forward to the remainder of the conversations moving forward, and not just, again, developing the concepts, but actually trying to move in towards implementation, making sure we have those credentials, and seriously considering and taking the feedback from the employer community means a lot to us.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. Thank you for being an incredible leader and partner in this effort and a visionary. This initiative is really very much the vision collectively of the community colleges and NJBIA, and is meant to be as inclusive as possible. Chrissy, thank you for you and your team. Thanks to Chris Emmelholtz, who is here with us, as well as Michelle Sakurka and others at NJBIA. I just want to acknowledge our incredible team that is leading this work on behalf of the community colleges. Catherine Stargell is leading this effort. Catherine, thank you for all of your leadership. I know all of you will get to know Catherine if you don't know her already. I want to thank Lauren Purnell for really helping to pull this event off with all of the technology and communications. So thank you, Lauren. And I think many of you, all of you, got to meet our incredible industry-focused staff, Glenn Best in manufacturing, Vita Shamsuddin in innovation technology, Stephanie Staub in infrastructure and energy, Sandra Bleckman and Stephanie Samuels in healthcare. They are really going to be the glue that holds all of us together. And I would encourage all of you to stay in touch with the 5 of them and with Catherine and me and Chrissy as we work towards implementing this really exciting opportunity and initiative. So we really want all of you to stay involved. This is just the beginning. So a couple of specific asks to all of you. Number one is, if you have not done it already, please go to njpathways.org and sign up to become a partner to receive updates and meeting invitations. You can see, you can just use the QR code there to go directly to the website using your smartphone. So please go ahead and do that if you have not done that already. Some really specific asks. As Chrissy said, this initiative will only work and be successful if we listen to businesses, industry associations, labor unions, those of all of you who are here with us today who really understand the changing needs of the economy. So we are going to be recruiting members for our industry leadership teams. We'll be recruiting employers to be involved in the industry action teams to guide each of the 10 centers of workforce innovation. So I urge and ask all of you to join with us, to go to our website and to sign up, and also to please spread the word to other employers and industry associations that are not part of this effort. We want to hear from industry. We want all of you to be involved. There's plenty of opportunities to be involved. Secondly, I would ask all of you to consider joining one or all of our collaboratives. The collaboratives will be meeting monthly to continue the conversation that we started today in the breakout groups to really explore in more detail the changing needs of those 4 key industries, but also to share innovative practices, to learn about the centers of workforce innovation and the work that they are doing. The collaboratives will really be the heart of this initiative, creating that forum for all of us to come together to build that ecosystem on a monthly basis. So please join us in this work. Please stay in touch with all of us. Let's seize this opportunity once and for all in New Jersey to find a way to work together, to take down those silos, to bring new partners to the table, to build the pathways that will help more New Jerseyans get family supporting careers, that will close equity gaps, and that will, in the end, we hope, build the most skilled, productive, innovative workforce here in New Jersey to propel our economic growth. So again, thank you all so much for being with us today. This is just the beginning of what we know will be an exciting and innovative and impactful initiative. Thank you all. Look forward to working with you. Thank you again, Chrissy, and your partners and staff and coworkers at NJBIA. Look forward to a very successful initiative. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the morning and a great Wednesday, and look forward to seeing you all very soon.